Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
Even as these grainy satellite images released today by the Chinese government.
Why shoot it down, though, if it's not hostile?
Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Why the Americans would?
They leave distance annihilated.
This country is very powerful. Far more powerful than people understand. We have weaponry that nobody has any idea what it is, and it is the most powerful weapons in the world. Not even close.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should be his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that, one way or another.
Let's go, everybody. Holy crap, the new intro. I am just on fire right now, guys. That was epic. So, guys, thank you very much for being here with me today, guys. We are going to be talking about the gravity manipulation. We're going to be talking about Stefan Marinov's MAGVID technology that he spoke about. So I've got for you guys tonight a couple, I guess they're like statements, like letters by Stefan Marinov, and we're going to read through some of those. Before we get to that, we have some topics that I want to discuss here tonight. First of all, guys, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. Took the day off the last couple of days because of Thanksgiving, but I do want to say, what am I thankful for? When it comes to Thanksgiving, we should always remember what we are thankful for. For me, I am thankful for the people that are in my life that help my family. I'm thankful for my dog, Lulu. I am thankful for my new understanding of the world. I'm thankful for finding the MH370 videos. And most importantly of all, thankful for all of you. Thankful for all of you guys listening. Now, take a moment and just ask yourself what you are thankful for. I think it will help to make us just better people when we do this. Okay, here we go, guys. The next thing. There was a major shooting of 2 National Guardsmen the other day. And it was announced yesterday that the female that was shot has passed away. I want to send my condolences out to the National Guard, who have been in Washington, D.C., keeping us safe, and they've been risking their lives every single day out on the street, trying to keep crime away from the White House and from D.C. in general. So it's horribly sad. She was a young lady, I think only 20 years old, and we should just keep her thoughts, her family in your prayers, guys, tonight and in the future. Okay, the next thing. Let's get to the main topics at hand, guys. Main topics at hand. Yeah, and I don't know all the details around it. I actually have not had time to dig into that shooting. People are saying that it's a... Hold on a second. Lulu, what are you doing? One sec, guys. Lulu. Sorry, Lulu was eating something there. People are saying that it was an Islamic terrorist or something like that. I haven't had time to dig into it, so I'm not going to start playing the blame game right away. I don't like to play the blame game, blaming certain races, certain ethnicities, or jumping to conclusions. When I do jump to conclusions, usually it's because there's a lot of evidence, whether it's official or whatever, public evidence. So I just want to say that I have not dug into that yet, and maybe I will in the future. Now, there's not really a lot more politics to dig into. Honestly, it's been pretty quiet. I don't really like the low IQ drama politics bullshit. You know, MTG reaching for attention, Candace Owens spreading new Egyptian French legionnaire conspiracy theories. It's just not, it doesn't stimulate me. Doesn't stimulate. But you know what does stimulate me is when the military, the government, puts out a new physics, science agenda. In this case, it's something called the Genesis mission. And rather than actually explain it myself, let me just go ahead and show you guys firsthand what the Genesis mission looks like. Here you go. This was just announced like yesterday. The Genesis mission. Here you go. Going to be real epic, guys. Real epic.
In every age, humanity invents new ways to see further. The telescope let us glimpse the stars. The microscope revealed the worlds within us. For centuries, thinkers like Leibniz, Shannon, and Turing dreamed of making all knowledge computable. But today, knowledge grows faster than our ability to understand it. Trillions of data points, a universe of information still unconnected.
Yeah, okay, so we're already like 30 seconds into this, and we've heard literally nothing so far. I can already tell this is some propaganda bullshit, just right off the bat. That doesn't mean there's nothing to it. Just because they add a bunch of fanfare propaganda, it doesn't mean there's nothing to it. We should be looking to read between the lines here. But so far, they've told me literally nothing about the Genesis project. It sounds like this looks like something I would see on like on a bad movie. Like a bad movie, like the villain, like mogul company, like puts this out, right?
Now, a new instrument emerges. One capable not only of observing the universe, but of understanding it. Genesis mission will transform how science is done in America, uniting our brightest minds, most powerful computers, and vast scientific data into one living system for discovery. Built on artificial intelligence and quantum computing, it will radically redefine the scale, speed, and purpose of scientific progress in America. This is the work that will define our generation's legacy. A new revolution begins, one guided not by competition alone, but by curiosity, imagination, and the belief that discovery is the truest form of progress.
Okay. It's like a pharmaceutical. It's like Quantum Sarah. It's a suppository. You put it in your anus, and then it gives you technologies. Okay. I actually think we literally just are too stupid. I think we're just so stupid that they're like, hey, guys, it actually doesn't even matter what we actually do. Just put out a bunch of propaganda bullshit that just like doesn't really mean anything, and people will just eat it up. And it feels like that's what we're watching right there. It's like, but actually, I do think they're doing something significant. Like what I think is really going on there is disclosure. Sad it is to say, what we just saw there is disclosure. And you may say, well, why is that disclosure, Ashton? Because you have to look at it from the big picture. How did they figure out plasma balls, gravity manipulation? Well, AI would have rapidly expanded that growth, rapidly accelerated that trajectory of technology. Once your AI gets online and you're feeding it the scientific papers, it's just spitting out the answers for you, assuming you know what you're looking for. A lot of people ask, like, Ashton, how do you know what the truth is? Well, once you know what you're looking for, it's actually really easy. It's really easy once you know what you're looking for. Once you realize there's a unification of electromagnetism and relativity, general relativity, then it's pretty easy to tell when people are legit or not. So once your AI knows what's legit, I mean, you can feed it all the scientific papers that I talk about, and it will give you back the answers. I know that for a fact because people send me the answers. They go, hey, Ashton, I was feeding AI your stuff, and it's like, here, it gave me the secrets of the universe. Happens like every single week, basically. So I think that what's going on here is that the government knows that quantum computers are going to do this because it's already happened in the black world. And this is their way of getting that information to the front. So will everybody, all the normie people are going to look at this and go, oh, wow, quantum computers figured out the secrets of the universe. How amazing is that? Quantum computers are the best, you guys. They're the best. And everybody's going to ignore the fact that the military already figured it out. That the only reason why we even have AI is because the military already figured that out. So the only reason why we even have AI today. So this is them basically saying like, hey guys, we have been lying to you, but this is our way of disseminating that information in a way that is not harmful to us. That's what this felt like when I first watched this video. Here you guys go. For the stupid normies that have no idea that we're lying to you, here you go. This will figure out the physics that we've secretly been hiding, but we're going to pretend like this just figured it out for the first time. So go ahead, bookmark this down, guys. Bookmark this down because I think I'm calling it here. Is that they're gonna pretend like this made some major breakthroughs. Oh, guys, the unification theory has been figured out. Unification theory has been figured out. And then they're gonna say, oh, the AI just figured it out. AI solved it. That's what it feels like to me. Now, on that front, I am going to watch painfully, regardless of whether or not you guys super chat me. I was going to stipulate this onto the super chats, but I decided that was too scummy. I am going to watch the Age of Disclosure movie tonight. Yes, I'm going to pay the $20, maybe even $25. Maybe I'll just own it. I can't imagine ever watching this movie twice, but maybe I'll just have it just to say I did. I'm going to watch the Age of Disclosure movie tonight, and tomorrow I'm going on with Nino Rodriguez, I think that's his last name. And we're going to talk about the Age of Disclosure movie. Give you guys the actual rundown of it. Ooh, I don't know how or why, guys. It's going to be a painful one. Now, going back to Thanksgiving real quick. Here's a quick tip. I posted this on my social media. This is a tip for you guys. I discovered this in Thanksgiving. This is a true story, by the way. True story. And for those of you who are wondering, Lulu has been enjoying the snow. It's been freezing ass cold in Minnesota. I don't know why I moved back here. Jesus Christ, why did I move back here? But I was at Thanksgiving hanging out with the family yesterday. And all of a sudden, my family members brought up Dan Brown. Dan Brown, the author. And I'm like, ooh, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. I can psyop some people in right now. And it worked so well, I had to share this method with the world. So my relatively normie followers, they know Dan Brown. They know the Da Vinci Code. Everybody knows the Da Vinci Code. It was a famous book before it became a famous movie. And I said, oh, did you know there's this guy named Hal Puthoff in the new Dan Brown book? First, they brought up Dan Brown, right? And I said, and they were talking about how they love his books and his writing because the stuff he talks about is like based on real stuff, based on real history, based on real science, based on real physics. Maybe not as perfectly accurate, but it's based on it. So they bring him up and I say, oh, that's crazy. Did you know there's this guy, Hal Puthoff, in the new Dan Brown? And they go, whoa, there's a new Dan Brown. Who's Hal Puthoff? Who's this Hal Puthoff you talk about? And then this is where you go. Next step in the PSYOP, guys. And if you're not familiar with my psychological operation prowess, then please check out the live stream of, what's it called? Something reset? No reset? Dead reset, where I successfully psychologically operated the security guard into falling in love with me. It's a true story. So the next thing you say is, oh, Hal Puthoff was on with Joe Rogan. You name drop Joe Rogan next. Why? Because regardless of the political spectrum of your family members, they will know that Joe Rogan is like the podcaster that people talk to. If they were on Joe Rogan, there's an aura of credibility associated to them. And then from there, you say, oh, Hal Puthoff was this guy that he did this psychic stuff before, but then he moved into 0-point energy, which is totally real. 0-point energy is totally real. And you say, when he was on Joe Rogan, he talked about these secret classified scientific papers. You really got to build it up. I mean, they are secret and they were classified, but you got to really sell it to the normies. secret classified military scientific papers, 38 of them. They're called the DIRDs, the Defense Intelligence Reference. Always use the acronym, chat. Always use the acronym. It really drives the point home. That's why the government uses them. It sounds official as shit. Don't say Defense Intelligence Reference Job. Just say the DIRDs. And they'll go, what are the DIRDs? What are those? And now you have successfully psyoped them, chat. Now, instead of just sounding like a complete lunatic, going straight to aneutronic fusion propulsion, now you've worked them into it. Now you've worked them into the DIRDs, the secret scientific papers. And now you can freely go full TISM on warp drives, wormholes, quantum energy extraction, negative energy propulsion, air breathing magnetohydrodynamics. You can really razzle dazzle them at this point. Wormholes, warp drives, everything is in those DIRDs. Super high-powered free electron lasers, which are going to become relevant here in a moment. Going to become relevant. And then you can just geek out. You can geek out, and they won't even think you're schizo anymore. They won't even think you're schizo. So that is just a quick tip for you guys during this holiday season, because people constantly ask me, how do you talk to your family's members about this without them thinking that you've gone full Candace Owens, right? It's a challenge. We all face it. Now, let's get to the main event, guys. This live stream might be relatively short. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't like to jinx it because every time I say that, we end up streaming for like 4 hours. But tonight, it's a Friday. It's a holiday season. I wanted to get right to the point for today's podcast slash live stream. So I found, I don't know how I got this, but the long story short is that Tom Montauk, I don't remember what his real name is, but Tom Montauk is the first person that told me about you have to check out Stefan Marinov and you have to check out his MAGVID device. Okay, sure. People were pinging me about it yesterday. I don't remember which one of you it was. Whoever you are, you get a gold star. Whichever you pinged me about this, you get a gold star. Because I decided today was going to be the day I was going to look into it, or yesterday, whenever I looked into it. And I started Googling it. And the first thing I actually get back is this website here. Okay, my whole setup just went to hell. Okay, there we go. I got this website here. Let me pull this up in big screen. And we can probably make it a little bigger. Yeah, here we go. This page is dedicated to the memory of Stefan Marinov and his magnetic vortex hyperionization device. Now, before I show this, so it was Tom Montauk was the one who told me about this. And I think this might be his website. It says scalarphysics.com, might be his website. Here's my understanding already of the very high level, not official science, PhD level understanding, but my understanding of the universe and the issue at play here of gravity manipulation is that we have unified electromagnetism with gravity. It's unified through an extra dimension that we are going to call the ether, similar to the idea of the ether of old. In fact, the physicists of yore, the ones that developed all of modern physics, believed in the ether. Almost all of them believed in the idea of the ether. So there is this ether, there is this extra dimension, and everything works via vortex motion geometrically. Geometrically, things spin in vortex motion. Like if we were to look at the little electrons, we would see them spinning around. In fact, when we look at the solar system moving through the universe, we see it with corkscrewing around. It looks like it's corkscrewing around throughout the universe. So that's a very high level understanding. What this means is that we can achieve faster than light relativistic travel, meaning we can seemingly teleport. From a optical perspective, you can teleport. You can achieve faster than light relativistic travel from the perspective of somebody looking at someone else. Seems silly, but this changes the game entirely when it comes to physics. This simple viewpoint, this simple perspective shift changes everything. And it says, how would you do that? How do you interact with this medium that we live in? Well, the medium is energy, is electromagnetic energy. So we can interact with it using electromagnetism. We can interact with it using electromagnetism. And this is the part where I play this clip that I played many, many times. But this is Leonard Susskind explaining the 0-point energy. I think this is
Tell me about this vacuum energy, because I'm pretty confused about what its source is or what it is. Or...
Oh, wait, that's not it. That's one. Although that's a pretty good one too, though. Maybe I should have just played that one. So Leonard Susskind.
If you remove matter and you remove radiation, what causes the electric fields? Like, what's the perturbation and what?
I can't answer what causes it.
That pause, that's a gravity class pause you just heard there from Leonard Susskind. Leonard Susskind, who developed the conjecture ER equals EPR, like literally one of the GOATs, can't even answer why 0-point energy is electromagnetic in nature. Can't answer it because it doesn't fit in classical view without adding an extra dimension.
I can tell you that the uncertainty principle requires it to be there.
But we're making the assumption there is no electric field, there is no mass. I thought you...
Did I say there's no electric field?
So de Sitter space has only the dark energy. Or
right.
Okay.
It has no real photons. It has only the 0-point energy.
Okay, you can have an electric field without real photons.
It just doesn't have any charges.
It's there anyway. The field fluctuates anyway. It doesn't need charges.
Right.
It's there anyway. So there is a problem in physics, chat. There's a problem in physics. Why can't we figure out unification? Why is this 0-point energy electromagnetic in nature? Even though if you do the math, you say, well, if there's nothing there, it can't be electromagnetic. It's not possible, but there is. Even in what we call nothing, there still is electromagnetism. Now, the best way to prove this is to be real for my engineers and physicists that are watching out there right now, before we even read this tonight, which is going to be the bulk of it, the main point of contention, I know exactly where quantum mechanics fell apart. Where quantum mechanics went off the rails is when it started trying to understand this idea of the wave function collapsing. That's where quantum mechanics went off the rails. It's Hal Puthoff. His 1987 paper is the most important one. The ground state of the hydrogen atom. Hal Puthoff, ground state of the hydrogen atom, 1987. He said his conjecture is thusly. He hypothesized that the electron that is spinning around the atom, the ion, should collapse. It should lose energy. It should radiate energy away. The electron is spinning so fast around the ion, it should be radiating energy away, and then it should basically collapse into the ion, fall into basically like the Earth should fall into the sun, but it doesn't. This is right where quantum mechanics fell apart, and this is why this was Hal Puthoff's first paper. Because Hal Puthoff said the reason why the electron does not collapse into the ion is because the 0-point energy is keeping it lifted up. The reason why the electron doesn't radiate energy and collapse into the ion is the 0-point energy is keeping it elevated. Every time it loses a little bit of energy, the 0-point energy gives it the energy back. This is a completely different way of looking at the universe. Because now you look at the 0-point energy as basically like the reservoir of energy that all energy goes back to. That's a completely different view. Now, do you want to see something cool? Do you want to see something cool? Hold up. Wait for it. Okay. So, I was watching this video here. I think this is the right one. Of Sean Carroll. And Sean Carroll was explaining quantum mechanics. Sean Carroll, I believe it was Sean Carroll. I hope I'm not getting this wrong. I believe it was Sean Carroll that claimed that 0-point energy is real, but we would never use it. We'll never be able to make warp drives. Not in 1,000 years will anybody ever figure these things out. And Charles Chase was dunking on him. Charles Chase was dunking on him, saying he's going to be proven wrong before he even dies. He's going to be proven wrong before he even dies, basically. So here is Sean Carroll. That same exact Sean Carroll. And somewhere right in here, where is it? Right in here somewhere, it explains this exact thing. I don't know where I saw it. We might just have to watch for a couple minutes because where is it? Here we go. Orbitals. Here it is, right here. Okay, ready for this? This is literally the thing we just talked about.
Right? If Isaac Newton says the planets in the solar system have certain positions and velocity, you just go out and observe them. Quantum mechanics, as we will see, says something very different. So why did we get there? And usually the story goes back to 1900 and Planck and Einstein with radiation. But I think it makes more conceptual sense to start a little bit later. Ernest Rutherford, in the first decade of the 20th century, was trying to figure out the structure of atoms. And he came up with this model, which is still the cartoon that we use to represent physics or science today. The Rutherford atom has a nucleus, which is a heavy, positively charged thing. And orbiting the nucleus are electrons, which are very low mass, negatively charged things. This is a beautiful thing. It kind of resembles the right? If you take an electron and you shake it or you move it in a circle, there are electromagnetic waves that move out at the speed of light, depending on the frequency of your
I'm not trying to get copyright striked here, Sean Carroll. Come on, let's get to the content.
Oscillations. That means that these electrons don't just sit there in the same orbits forever. They lose energy, which means they spiral in to the center of the atom where the nucleus is. You can even calculate. It's a nice little homework assignment. Calculate typically how long would it take for an electron to lose enough energy to spiral all the way into the nucleus. The answer is about 10 to the minus 11 seconds. So we can do that experiment. There, we did it. It didn't happen. Atoms are stable. You and I are made of atoms. Our atoms clearly last for longer than 100th of a billionth of a second. This theory is clearly wrong. What's going on? So there were some steps. We're going to skip some steps.
So there you go. Right there. There you have it. That's Sean Carroll telling you straight up the exact same thing Hal Puthoff describes in his very first scientific paper about zero-point energy. 1987, Hal Puthoff comes in and says, we looked at this problem, and I said, the answer to this problem is that there's a zero-point energy field everywhere. And that's where the extra energy is coming from. That's the reason why the electron doesn't radiate its energy. That's the reason why the electrons are stable. When if we just do the math, it says they shouldn't be stable. So we have a major problem right here. We have a major problem, which is we did the math based on classical physics, and it didn't work. The experiments were wrong. Classical physics was proven to be wrong. So what did we do? Did we go and redo classical physics? Of course we didn't. Admit when we're wrong? No, we're Redditors. We never admit when we're wrong. So we didn't admit when we're wrong. So instead what we did was we said, okay, the classical world and the quantum world just work differently. They just work differently. That's our explanation. Instead of trying to reconcile reality with our physics, we just said, nah, it just like works differently because of reasons. Works differently because of reasons. So I want to hear the reason from Sean Carroll. I didn't even play this part yet. So let's see what he says. What is the rationale? I think that the rationale is going to be like the Copenhagen interpretation, like various interpretations of how to explain this. And this is why physics is so stupid. This is why physics is so effing stupid. Because they pretend like their ideas are above reproach, but you can literally just point to many scientific experiments that prove them wrong. And they'll just say, well, we'll just make up something new to explain that. We'll just make up dark energy. We'll just make up dark matter. We don't worry about having to explain mass or gravity. We don't care. We can't explain any of these things. It's fine. It's actually just, we're straight up clown shoes right now when it comes to physics in this world. So I know I'm about to hear something really stupid, but here we go anyway.
Big step toward getting the right answer happened in 1924 when Louis de Broglie, who was a graduate student at the time, this is A little challenge to you graduate students out there. What are you going to do with your PhD thesis? Louis de Broglie's PhD thesis was suggesting that electrons should be thought of as waves rather than particles.
Boom.
So we would call this wave today the wave function of the electron.
This is actually fine. This is actually fine still.
But an example of it would be if you've ever taken a chemistry class and you've learned about the orbitals that electrons have in different kinds of atoms. You see that these are wave-like shapes. They're definite shapes with discrete possible places that they can take. That's because they're particular shapes of definite energy. But what it means is there's a minimum size for the wave to take around the electron, around the nucleus rather, and this is supposed to explain the stability of matter. The electron is not, in this view, a particle moving in an orbit. It's not even a particle moving randomly in a cloud. In this view, the view that I'm going to advocate, although not everyone agrees with it, the electron is the cloud. That is what the electron is. And so you ask the question, what is the shape of the cloud? And for all of these orbitals, the shape of the cloud is constant in time. There's no vibration going on. There's no orbiting going on. So there's no reason to emit electromagnetic waves and decay. And very soon...
Yeah, I don't agree with that. This is where it falls off the rail. It goes off the rails for me. You're saying, okay, well, like every time I image it, I just get a specific shape. So therefore, there's nothing moving. That's not true. If the shape is changing, there's movement happening. Even in waves, there's movement happening. So this idea that it feels like we're just cheating when we're saying, oh, okay, each moment in time is just a specific moment in which we took the picture. Therefore, nothing's really moving. No, there's definitely action going on. There's definitely movement happening. So I think the correct interpretation is yes, everything's waves, but no, this doesn't solve the problem. It's not just magically stable. And this doesn't explain why it's stable. You just said, no, it's a moment in time. Now, therefore, it's stable. That doesn't explain anything. The whole point of instability is that it's over a period of time. Anyway, there we go. Okay.
Thereafter, Erwin Schrödinger suggests that he can come up with an equation that...
I actually want to take a look at this for a second as well. Here we go.
These waves satisfy. It's a little bit more sophisticated than de Broglie's point of view, because in Schrödinger's picture, the wave function is a complex valued function. So at every point in space, there's a complex number. We call this psi of x. At them, as soon as you measure them or observe them, they start looking like particles. Now, this is obviously crazy talk, right? Like, how does the electron know if I'm looking at it? Why?
Okay, so this is the part where it starts to go off the rails. When we're talking about it's going to act like a particle when I'm looking at it versus not looking at it, and talking about the idea of coherence. So anyway, that was enough. That's all I wanted to dig into right off the bat here, because this is going to feed into what we're about to read right now with Stefan Marinov. Okay, so going back to this previous document. Now, this document right here is, here's the link to it. I'll put it in the chat, scalarphysics.com/resources/Stefan_Marinov/magvid.pdf. There you go. Put it in the chat for you guys on the screen too if you want it. Now, it says this page is dedicated to the memory of Stefan Marinov and his device titled the Magnetic Vortex Hyperionization Device. It was reported that he was working on it, which means working with a real device, not just, and then up until 1 month before his sudden, unexpected death. I don't know if he was stomped to death, but it turns out, guys, #1 leading cause of death for alternate energy engineers is being stomped to death in your home by your neighbors. Happens all the time. Very common thing to occur. Nothing weird about it at all. Sometimes they poison themselves to death too. It's very tragic how this constantly happens to this one specific niche group of people. But there's nothing to look into it. Nothing to ever look into it. Just want to point that out. Okay. So he did die. And then I guess this is basically, here's the update I'll say. Here are the posts. These posts are very interesting. We're going to review the physics and science and the claims in the posts. Stefan Marinov posted a few messages about the MAGVID device on various news groups on Usenet during 1995. Instead of using his real name, he decided to impersonate a fictional U.S. Air Force officer who worked at Groom Lake and other locations and projects for 20 years. Probably the reason for doing this was to attract more attention for this MAGVID device and maybe to protect his identity. In my opinion, this was the wrong approach because he was leaking information without associating it to himself in public. So he was not protecting his identity But on the opposite, his identity was more in danger. So here are some images. So I think these are all three posts from 1995 that we're about to read right now. Get ready for it. And I think there's some other images. I thought there was images. Where are the images? Here's the images as well. The one image is the background of the thumbnail, guys. Talking about the 4 rings. Kind of reminds me right off the bat of quadrupole oscillations. Reminds me of the quadrupole oscillations that both Dave Rossi and Gary Stevenson spoke about. Reminds me of both of these. So let me just read off the first thing here. The magnetic vortex. How this thing is supposed to work. Conventional effects. Production of high voltage. Rotating magnetic field spins the compass needle. Unconventional effects. Electromagnetic Doppler effects. Hello. Hello there. Did somebody say electromagnetic Doppler effects? Now you are speaking my language. Now you are in my wheelhouse. Now I have home field advantage. Electromagnetic Doppler effects are exactly what we were talking about. We're going to probably be referencing this live stream a lot. Maybe I need to link it down there. The free electron relativistic X-ray laser. Nuclear pumped. Man, it's got a lot of words in it. Nuclear pumped relativistic free electron X-ray laser. Woo! Try saying that 3 times fast. Because the secret of these effects are relativistic effects, where if I were to take like 2 walls and have the walls oscillate inward and outward, these are the relativistic effects. That's what it's talking about right here when they're talking about electromagnetic Doppler effects. The Doppler effect is if 2 objects are moving away from one another, either their waves are going to expand or they're going to contract. Right? Doppler effects. So right there, there's your answer. EM. So right away, I'm already pretty high on this because I've already seen something now that is right in line with what we've read about how to produce these relativistic gravity effects. Well, one of them is the electromagnetic Doppler effect. This is how you can potentially manipulate zero-point energy. This is how you can manipulate gravity through manipulating zero-point energy. The other unconventional effect is time dilation, and this makes sense. Resultant time compression of EM radiation, resultant decrease in perceived inertia and mass, resultant greater perceived acceleration with lesser force. So this is the thing, is that what happens with the physics is that the properties that we see become real. The perception of the decrease in inertia, the perception of the decrease in mass is real. So this goes directly back to Veritasium. Veritasium's video where he talks about Eric Lathwaite. Ready? Here it is.
You release my left hand and holding only with my right hand at the end of the shaft, I'll try to lift it up over my head. This is a 40-pound, 19-kilogram flywheel. Ready? Here we go. 3,
40-pound
2, 1.
flywheel. He's just lifting it with one hand.
Beautiful. Let's go again.
So why was that so easy for Veritasium? Because the perceived effects are real. This is the thing. This is the psyop, guys, about gravity manipulation. There's nothing special about it. Gravity is just a pressure force. Anything that makes you feel lighter, if it literally makes you feel lighter, it is literally making you lighter. Because gravity is not some special, unique force. It's just a byproduct of mass and energy. This is why when you're looking at even things like acoustic levitation, anything that's levitating, that's anti-gravity. That's gravity manipulation. That is the same exact effect. Scale that effect up. Now you're flying around. So how do you scale those effects up? How do you scale? Well, we just watched Veritasium spin a weight around, and the weight is spinning, and for some reason, it's just lighter. It's lighter. This is the secret. It's actually so absurd. It's absurd when you think about it as a normie. And this is why the normies never think about it. Because they just think, oh, well, that's just normal physics. Yes. Gravity manipulation is normal physics. It's not secret physics that only works over here. And when I'm over here in this corner, it's always stuff that's been out there the whole time. The perception of physical property changes is real. So shielding effect on the inside. So this is interesting. A shielding effect on the inside by oblate spheroids of ionized particles and electrons outside of the device. Anything that comes in contact with the rotating ionization cloud would heat and get swirled. So what it's saying there is that you can use this to make a swirling energy field around this object, and then whatever's inside has now got a shield around it. Because anything that tries to get to it gets stuck in the swirling vortex. Okay. The extreme electrical ionization of matter in this experiment produces many anomalous effects. Doppler effects, time dilation, bandwidth compression. There are 3 fields we can use to set up an electric vacuum inside of an experiment by pumping electrons into an external electric sheet. Whoa, boy. Whoa, boy. Okay. There it is. This is like pretty much explaining right here the free electron relativistic laser right there. When they're talking about our electrons moving freely in these lasers, it's pretty much like talking about pumping electrons into an external sheet. So right here, when I'm reading this, it almost sounds just like fusion, just like these electron lasers that they use to produce fusion right there. And they can use static magnetic fields, alternating magnetic fields, or pulsating magnetic fields. Imagine a permanent magnet with a north pole coming out of your computer monitor. Its flux lines can be imagined as a large number of X marks around your screen. An electron moves in the plane of the monitor from left to right. As the electron cuts the lines of the magnetic flux, Lorentz forces deflect it downward. The electron actually spirals clockwise into the plane of the computer monitor with radius mv divided by qb, with b in Teslas and other magnetic fields. If the electron came from the opposite direction, it would spiral in the same direction, clockwise, as we see it. So there you go. What it's saying right there is that if an electron passes across your screen and there's a magnetic field on your screen, that electron is going to start moving in a vortex motion, clockwise vortex motion towards the screen itself. So that's what it's saying, is that magnetic fields fundamentally alter the flow of electrons. Undeniable. Lorentz forces derives from static magnetic fields when there's relative motion between the magnetic field and the electron. No force acts on the electron when its motion is parallel to the lines of the magnetic flux. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's a little hackzors right there, guys. One of the first scientific papers we looked into was called Force-Free Time Harmonic Plasmoids. And in that, they were trying to get the electric and magnetic fields to be parallel. If you had your electric and magnetic fields to be parallel, you create a force-free condition. And I think that's what this is talking about right here. If your electron is parallel, then you don't feel any force whatsoever. So now this is where we start messing around with the geometry of our plasmas. So what they were doing is they were messing around with the geometry of the plasmas, and they realized they can create static magnetic fields. If you manipulate the geometry of your plasma, just like this, you can actually control the motion of the plasma almost perfectly. Okay. Then it says this static magnetic field is conservative, performs no work. The relevant equation is E equals the change in the magnetic field over time. And since the flux density is static, then the change in magnetic field is zero. The curl is zero, and the field, by definition, is conservative. No work is done on the electrons. So we deduce that the electrons spiral but maintain the same velocity and kinetic energy. Static electrons can be accelerated by magnetic fields. In the case of the curl, E is non-zero. Electrons must absorb energy or must be accelerated by the time-variant magnetic field. This case is actually the same as the above case, but the electron current changes the coil producing the magnetic flux. This flux expands or collapses. There is still a relative motion. The electrons still experience the same Lorentz force. For example, sending a pulsating current instead of a direct current through the same coil in the same direction causes the same spiraling effect on static electrons as the static magnetic field had on the moving electrons. Sending alternating current through the coil causes periodic reversals of the electrons. The field around the coil can be given by this parameter. It says here, the electric lines form concentric circles around the coil. Okay, so two methods exist to produce the electric sheet outside of the experiment. Both require pumping of electrons from inside the experiment into a sheet of electricity outside. The first method does this from a central magnetic pole. A strong static magnetic field is set up, and PDC, which is the pulsating direct current, is set up oppositively through the pole to set up a circular electric lines around it. Electrons are accelerated circularly around the pole, and as soon as they move, they experience outward centrifugal deflection. Each electron, which leaves the center of the experiment, leaves the positive electric hole, and so there also must be an internal electric centrifugal force. So what he's describing here is how the motion of the electrons are manipulated by the magnetic fields. And essentially what it's getting at here is that if we can manipulate the electrons using the magnetic fields to create a particle accelerator. In fact, what I'm hearing here being described sounds very much like what's probably in the middle of the orbs in the MH370 videos. We're using these very powerful electromagnetic fields to manipulate the electrons, and we basically solve the math to make them be perfectly efficient. Conservation of energy. And this is part of the reason why the orbs don't really look like they look static. Like you can see this distinct heat signature in them. Because they've solved the math and they figured out, oh, this is how we can make our plasma to be stable. This perfectly stable plasma that we're producing here. So let's skip ahead a little bit of this. So it says, thus the speed of light acts to limit the centrifugal force, and so to limit the power of the field. I'm going to actually skip through these explanations because it gets better down here. Okay, so if you want to read the explanation, I'll put the explanation in the description here. What I really want to read through is these comments. So that is your very, very high level. Like that, the idea of electromagnetism and using magnetism to manipulate electrons is not just limited to metals. It's not just limited to magnetic motors. That also applies for plasma. Plasma itself is stripping the electrons from the ions. And now, once you've figured out that, oh, the electrons follow this predictable vortex motion going clockwise every single time, now you can predict the motion of the electrons in your plasma. And what is the secret of fusion in plasma? The secret of fusion in plasma is how do you confine the plasma? How do you contain it? Well, if you know how it's going to move, if you know and can control how it moves, then you can confine it pretty easily. This is the reason why fusion has been suppressed. Because the control of plasma in this way that's needed for fusion to happen is classified under national security. And you're reading about it right here. So this is the more spicy part, guys. You guys know me. It's always fun. This isn't the kind of thing you can probably build in your backyard. You can make a magnetic motor if you want, but people are going to call you a scammer and a fraudster, so I don't necessarily recommend doing it. But it's up to you. Go ahead. The letters. So I read these, and I'm going to read these here with you guys. This is apparently Stefan Marinov himself supposedly blowing the whistle on this technology. The explanation that we were just given, so everybody's going to post in the comments. I can already feel it. going, why do we think that's Stefan Marinov? That doesn't say his name there. It sounds ridiculous. Maybe it does. People try different things. I don't agree with trying to impersonate an Air Force person. Maybe he was just trying to get attention. Maybe he was trying to get people to pay attention to what he was talking about. But here you go. This is going to be pretty good. So this is supposedly Stefan Marinov wrote this email or message. It's kind of unclear where it showed up. 1995, though. So 30 years ago. This is 30 years ago. Repeat that. So he's going to say, I tell how excitation and accelerated time, less inertia, gravity, and mass are all one and the same thing. Wow. Wow. Right off the bat, all of those things are 0 point energy. The answer right there, the very first line is 0 point energy. Gravity, mass, and inertia are all the same thing. They're all explained by 0 point energy. Just excitations in the 0 point energy field. So right off the bat, very first line, you had me at hello, as they say in the movies. Ships may travel hundreds of times faster than light without time dilation, and energy needed for this is very little. Communications are also faster than light. Holy shit, chat. I'm getting fucking goosebumps here. I am getting goosebumps here. Because this is true. This is true. And we only learned this in the last year. We learned this in the last year because we learned that faster than light communication is possible, and it's not going to cause this huge amount of time dilation. We can control the Mars rover from Earth. The only way that's possible in real time, controlling the Mars rover from Earth in real time, the only way that's possible is by what he's saying right here. What he's saying right here. So this is somebody else who's saying, and this is a pretty bold claim to make in 1995. You're saying not only is faster than light communication already happening, quantum communication, as we would call it, but it works faster than the speed of light, and you can basically jump through a portal and be in Mars, and then jump back through the portal, and you're back here again, and it's not 20 minutes later. Wow. Pretty crazy claim. EEG, electrocardio. Wait, which is EEG? I forget which EEG is. EEG waves from 1 to 60 cycles are telepathy, but they come from fast time, so they are compressed in time or bandwidth. Ordinary radios are not quick enough to detect the information. All we detect is this 60 cycle signal at light speed, but information inside travels faster than light. This I don't quite perfectly understand, but it also seems to be connected to this idea of quantum entanglement and explain quantum entanglement as an electromagnetic field. So there you go. Man left to himself dreams of a paradise where technology and nature are in perfect harmony, where he is immortal and free of disease, needs, and wants. And this can be done directly from mind to product this very day using light lines. I don't know what that means. As someone who has worked on the B-2 bomber and its more advanced cousins in the Air Force for 20 years, I can tell you that the whole story is unbelievable. 20 hours is too conservative a time estimate for complete explanation. Some crafts we do use electromagnetism to nullify gravity and even extract hidden information from EEG waves. But these are not deployed and will not be until they are needed. So what does Stefan Marinov actually do? We're gonna have to look that up afterwards because I can't find anything wrong with what he's saying here. I can even see how you might be able to use quantum encryption to crack information, which is essentially what he's talking about here. Talking about extracting hidden information. I mean, this is before quantum computers were even believed to be a thing. So this is essentially saying that we can use quantum encryption and craction. We can break any encryption using quantum technologies. This is basically what this is saying right here. They pump electricity from inside themselves into a sheet of electricity some distance away. exactly as the Earth's positive ground and the ionosphere on a negative sheet. Wow. I mean, this sounds exactly like teleporting an object from one point to the other. One is the positive charge and one is the minus charge. The same way where the Earth is a positively charged ion and then it has its voltage gets created the further away you get from it. And also it says they will not be deployed until they are needed. This is the real thing. The only way for the MH370 videos to make sense is that we've got this technology, but we only deploy it when it's actually needed. We're not breaking it out for the Ukraine war. We don't care about Ukrainians if they die. We're not breaking it out to fight Hamas. We're only breaking this technology out if we need it. And in the last 30 years, we haven't really needed it. And then it says, this sheet bends parallel radar waves around the craft like a water droplet in a rainbow. OMG. There it is right there. There it is right there. Remember when Trump said that they can't detect our submarines? That our plasma is stealth? Because the light waves bend right around the object, which means that you can't even detect it. It's like the object is not even there. And this is exactly what is happening when the plane teleports. The plane is teleporting. It's undetectably moving from one location to the next. It's the same physics, just scaled up. Scaling up this physics. Have light bend entirely around the craft. In fact, what does it say in the very next line here? And it says, this is a relatively simple and straightforward effect, and it is what Einstein was attempting in Project Rainbow, also known as the Philadelphia experiment. Boom. It is. This is what Einstein was trying to do. They were trying to shield a ship from electromagnetic fields. And they accidentally figured out, oh, this is actually warping space-time when we do this. If we turn up our de Gauss's, our Tesla super high, we're actually manipulating space-time. We desperately wanted radar invisibility. And this is where it all came from. We wanted radar invisibility. That's what we were trying to have happen. We knew the math said that, okay, we can use electromagnetism to produce radar invisibility. Well, we didn't realize that it produces real invisibility. It produces teleportation. Because we were like, oh, shit. Electromagnetism is connected to space-time itself. We're not just cloaking the object. We're literally making it invisible. This is why when you read the DIRD, guys, that's the hot word of the day is the DIRDs. One of the DIRDs is about cloaking technologies. And in the cloaking DIRD, it says, what is the best form of cloaking? Space-time manipulation. The best form of cloaking is just bending the light rays all the way around you. Boom. The Germans were engaged in the same effort 50 years ago. Ooh, chat. If you have not listened to the Jason Giorgiani interview, that is your clue right there to listen to it. I'm not even going to say anymore. But the electric vacuum, the vortex field, also causes excitations of the atoms in it, which shifts waves in a frequency and accelerates time. The Air Force, this is where it gets good. This is my favorite kind of post, by the way, guys, is where we read these old posts from like 30 years ago where it blurs the line between fiction and reality, where the people that explain it, you're like, how could they know about all this? Where they're explaining the science and the physics that we've independently discovered in 2025, where they're talking about the Nazis and the Die Glocke and the same stuff that Jason Giorgiani was talking about. I love this stuff. Now, it goes on. The Air Force feels it has nothing to worry about because nobody would believe these things, even though they require no special admission, but are based entirely on relativity and simple electromagnetic laws. Boom! There it is. Booyakasha, sweet sassy molassy. Guys, that is your moment of Zen for tonight, right there. It really is just hiding in plain sight. The reason why the Air Force is not afraid, they're probably now afraid of the MH370 videos because nobody has ever gotten as much attention as I have. In fact, I was going viral today again for posting the MH370 videos. 2 million views in just a few hours. So the Air Force is not even afraid. Why? Because humans are retarded. Humans are retarded, chat. Humans don't realize that it's just normal physics. All we have to take is electromagnetism in one hand and general relativity in the other hand and throw out special relativity. Special relativity was the thing telling us nothing can go faster than the speed of light. That's wrong. Throw that away. All we have to do is do that, combine electromagnetism and gravity together. Boom. Now you can manipulate gravity. That's it. And it's just normal physics that's out there. You might ask the question, why is it being ignored? Why are people not doing it? That's the suppression. Why are people not doing it? Because they just, they have a chronic condition where they get 2 bullets in the back of their head when they do it. They get YouTubers with millions and millions of followers come out that say, this person's a scammer. This isn't real. Don't look at this. And then people don't. That's the reason why. Because we are regarded, chat, highly regarded in this world. So it says, first, I tell how the electrons are controlled in electromagnetic fields using physics and Maxwell's equations. Then 2 systems are given for establishing a permanent excitation and a volume. The practical system uses a magnetic vortex and weak static field. Next, temporal effects are described by contrasting how people in gravity and then the excitation fields perceive quanta. And so what he's saying right now here is that if you mix general relativity and quantum mechanics, now you start to get general relativistic effects at the quantum level. This is what gives rise to what we would call magic. He's talking about macroscopic quantum effects, essentially, here. Then faster than light travel and communications are discussed. I don't care about the telepathy thing. So, okay, he explains these 3 fields here. Oh, this is like basically a repetition of what we just read. Okay. No wonder I was confused because it says the same things twice. Okay. Okay, let's go down a little bit more. Okay, excitation in this medium causes a shift opposite to gravity. For example, if atoms are excited, electrons are further from the nuclei and under less electric force. Now they are more loosely bound. Now, incoming quantum of the same energy causes greater transitions than before, and so appear to have even more quantum energy or frequency. This right here is the answer. There it is. Boom. Boom, baby. People probably don't even know. Half the time when I do get Yahtzees, I feel like people don't even know why. They don't even know why it's boom. Big. Gotcha, bitch. There you go. Why is this so big? This is what Salvatore Pais has been trying to tell us. This is what Salvatore Pais has been trying to tell us. Is that what happens when general relativistic effects start taking over at the quantum level is now it takes less energy to produce a bigger output. So what you're doing is like when you are contracting or expanding space, you're changing the physical effects. This is how you can amplify energy in a thermonuclear weapon, for example, is just one example of what you might be able to do. Because what ends up happening is as you are, let's say, removing the 0 point energy, you're removing that energy that's there. Now it takes less and less energy to get more energy out because of how the local space-time distortion. So this is what I'm probably not explaining it very well. I'll try to come up with a better analogy for you guys, but just know this is that what this says here is that essentially you can get to a scaling amplification of energy. Scaling amplification of energy. Imagine that you just pull away the Coulomb barrier. You pull away the Coulomb barrier, now our atoms can just come together freely. This is essentially what becomes possible, is that the more we manipulate space-time, the easier it gets to manipulate space-time. That's probably the best way to explain it. The more we manipulate space-time, the easier it gets to manipulate. And you were like, oh, well, doesn't that mean that it becomes like very low amount of energy to get a huge amount of energy out? Yes, exactly. Exactly. And now this is how fusion becomes possible. So how are we getting these huge energy levels that are required for fusion? Well, we have access to unlimited energy. If you manipulate your geometrical plasma configuration, you can amplify energy to any level you want. And this is where, and again, it's just the laws of physics. You can apply the laws of physics and you can say, oh, look, yes, this is what it says should happen. That's essentially what he's saying right here in this paragraph. I'll read it one more time now that I've kind of explained that. If atoms are excited, electrons are further away from the nuclei and therefore under less electric force. They're more loosely bound. Now, incoming quantum of the same energy cause greater transitions than before, so appear to have more quantum energy or frequency. Waves from inside seem to be high in energy, but low in energy or frequency to the people that are on the outside. Again, like gravity, this is a conservative field, affecting only perception. However, its shift is opposite to gravity's. Since gravity's effect on frequency derived from slowing of time, what effect other than accelerating of time does excitation derive from? Note here, excitation does not have to cause actual transitions to higher orbitals to give frequency shift effects. Given the Schrödinger wave constraints, such is not possible. With electric vacuum suction on the electrons, incoming quantums still take less energy to cause transitions. So what is it saying right here? It says, turns out, guys, he's saying we actually don't even care about those. Remember what Sean Carroll just said? He said, oh, there's specific energy levels. This thing right here is saying, no, we don't even care about those energy levels. We're literally changing the energy bands. When you are manipulating the 0-point energy, you're changing the energy bands themselves. So that's not even relevant. And yes, whoever just said that in the chat, Tom Bearden was right. This is exactly what Tom Bearden was talking about. This is exactly what Tom Bearden was talking about. Tom Bearden is talking about the Schrödinger wave form and solving the Schrödinger wave equation. This is what they're talking about, is manipulating, understanding the flow of electrons in three-dimensional space and how that impacts the ether. Because it does. How they're moving changes how it impacts the ether. And if you understand that, understand how you expect them to move, you can solve the math. You can solve the math and you can start to create stable shapes. And when you create these stable shapes, you can amplify energy. And this is what Salvatore Pais figured out. My guess is Salvatore Pais had to have been exposed to this. The reason why I say that is nobody believes this without seeing it. Nobody believes this without seeing it. Even when you see the math, because the math checks out. That's the crazy part. You look at the math checks out. Nobody believes it. They'll say, show it to me. I don't believe you. That's the secret. Sal must have seen it. Sal must have seen it. I only believe it because I saw it. Okay. The main problem we had in finding means for excitation without relaxation, which normally releases all stored up energy in tens of a billionths of a second. Energy required for any significant frequency shift is enormous. Setting up a weak static magnetic field allows for a sort of resonance effect, where massive amounts of energy are absorbed by the field without release. Excitation and resonance are only obtainable when relaxation is eliminated, as it can be in the magnetic vortex system. So this is right here is the reason why a magnetic motor works. Magnetic motor works from resonance. That's why the magnetic motor can actually produce usable energy. But when it comes to a plasma situation, now you're looking for huge amounts of electromagnetic energy. To cause a frequency shift, you need a huge amount of energy. And that's where thermonuclear weapons come into play. That's where aneutronic fusion comes into play. What uses are this? Ships can travel faster than light. Time may be accelerated by 4 times. Then, when travel is close to light, the ship simply regains the mass or time it originally had, but it is traveling 4 times faster than light when that happens. Thus, any star in this or any other galaxy are within reach without time dilation and with very little energy input. The way I imagine it is very similar to like how a bumblebee or another bug, these bugs are literally using resonance to fly, guys. Bugs are using 0 point energy to fly. They are. Deal with it. I know it's blowing your mind, but they are. The bug, Matt, how does a bug fly? The bug gets into a resonance. And when the bug gets into a resonance with his wings, why you hear the bzzz, it's because the wings are flapping super fast. And it gets into a resonance, and then it just starts beginning to float. I don't know where I was going with that, but there you go. So, oh yeah, no time dilation. So we can literally just go anywhere. We can go anywhere. We can literally teleport. Literally teleport with this technology. With this science. Oh yeah, because when we build up the B, this is like saying right here is that we build up and we get to the high frequency that we're trying to get to, and now we see the effects kick in. Now we see these effects begin to kick in. And since the bees are so light, since the bugs are so light, they can actually manipulate these effects. We are just too big. But even a gecko, I don't know if you guys knew this, but geckos use 0 point energy to stick to the walls. Geckos use the Casimir effect to stick on the walls because they're so light that effect is powerful. Electromagnetism is powerful enough to get them to stick. Same reason why the bees fly. Faster than light communication are also possible not without another effect. Suppose we emit a 1 to 60 megacycle signal from a field where time is accelerated. This is possible because energy required decays exponentially for faster times. The signal leaves shift on. Okay. The information inside is compressed. Okay, I don't really understand this, but the reason for faster light propagation is the same as the stationary observer looking at light in a light clock on a relativistic ship. Light seems to travel faster in this ship since Einstein took light speed to be a constant. He saw time must slow down on the ship. But this gravity field makes light travel faster relative to the temporal state of the stationary observer. In our case, the signal travels 1,000,000 times faster than light because gravity on the outside of the ship is 1,000,000 times greater. So here you go. This is the trick. This is the rub, guys. Relativity. Relativity is the reason why we can actually move faster than the speed of light. Because everybody's in their own little time bubble, this means that we must be able to move faster than the speed of light. The only way that we would have a speed limit is if all of us were in a shared reality where time flows the same for each of us. Then you could have a speed limit. That would work in that world. That's not the world we live in. The world we live in, our time always appears to be flowing normal, quote unquote, normally. It's the relativistic motion that causes faster than light travel. When I'm teleporting in MH370, when I'm in MH370 and that plane is being teleported, the people inside the plane do not feel like they're moving faster than the speed of light. They feel like they're just moving normally. When they teleport in the bubble and they come out, they don't feel anything. All of a sudden, they're just in a different spot. But when we're watching it, it looks like that plane is teleporting faster than the speed of light. And you would say, wait, did those people just get melted? That effect is what allows all of this to be possible. And that is Einstein's general relativity. General relativity. That's what allows for time dilation to be real. So, aliens do exist, but the public is taken for granted. NASA's SETI is complete rubbish. Cover up at its worst. They scan 1 to 10 gigahertz. No alien transmission occurs above 100 cycles, and NASA knows this. Exactly. That's actually exactly it. I don't know who this is that wrote this, Stefan Marinov, but Stefan Marinov, whoever wrote this, seems to know what's really going down. Because this is like too accurate. You don't just guess and get all this right. And right here, it's saying, why does SETI not find anything? SETI isn't finding anything because the aliens are using quantum signaling. The aliens aren't using electromagnetism. I mean, they are, but they're not using it the way that we're using it. Aliens are using faster than light communications, and we're not. Our detectors can't even detect them. This is why the government knows exactly what's going on with aliens. They know exactly what's going on with aliens because they have these quantum technologies. And the moment you turn on the quantum communication devices, you're going to be getting signals all over the place. You're going to turn on the quantum communication devices, and there's going to be fucking aliens everywhere. We're about to find out there's aliens everywhere, guys. This is why, going back, guys, because people are going to try to say I lied or some bullshit. I told you we're going to have every kind of alien that you want. We have the best aliens, chat. The absolute best aliens. And I'm not talking about the illegal ones from Honduras and Guatemala and Somalia. I'm talking about the good kind of aliens, the thick whites, the ones with the big butts. Every kind of alien you could possibly want is going to exist out there. And we're going to be seeing their warp drives because they're probably flying around in warp drives. And we're going to see those too. We're just not looking the right way. So once I read that, I'm like, okay, interesting. They're all compressed in time, like a subspace communication in Star Trek. Exactly. Light takes perhaps 15 minutes to reach another planet, but this is all instantaneous with compression. This is exactly what John Kramer was saying. John Kramer was saying that it's going to be instantaneous communication. Okay, let's skip through some of this. Aliens have given clues along the way. After we conducted the Philadelphia experiment, we were mailed the book, The Case for the UFO, annotated edition, with quotes written in the margins by philosophical aliens. Okay, I don't know what this is all about. Anyone wishing to know how our ships are powered would have to realize electrons cross what would be their terms be millions of light years of space, and they leave in their wake a magnetic node or a vortex, as this one thing variously called. Realizing this, as Einstein did, it makes it clear how matter may be made into energy, dissolute or invisible. Interesting. So it's almost saying that the electrons are ripping through the 0 point energy. And when they're ripping through the 0 point energy, they're leaving these vortex paths in their wake. Okay, boy, how much is this? This just keeps going? Okay. Let's read this part here. If gravity can be electromagnetically overcome, which is our only practical way to ever hope to overcome gravity anyway, gravity has to be electromagnetic. Then it must be acting on some electric or magnetic property in matter due to concept of dual poles. Otherwise, no electromagnetic force could be coupled. This reduces the problem to finding one magnetic or electrical property intrinsic to all mass, because gravity acts on all mass. Dimagnetism is that universally intrinsic property. But even that is related to distance of the electrons from the nuclei by formula of the magnetic moment, M equals IA, or the moment equals current times loop area. This does not tell whether proximity to or from distance from nuclei is anti-gravity, but directly suggests the correspondence exists. There it is. There it is, chat. Okay. Here's the explanation. The reason why I've been talking about brilliant light power, Randall Mills, is because Randall Mills believes there's something called a hydrino. And he believes that the electron orbitals in the hydrogen atom can be shrunk down. That's what Randall Mills believes. And Randall Mills is correct. Randall Mills is correct. And what this is saying right here is that there's a direct belief based on the math that the electron orbital is what determines gravity. That is what gravity is. That if my electron orbital is away from its equilibrium, then I've manipulated gravity. If I squeeze it down, I'm manipulating gravity. I'm either adding or I'm removing gravity when I'm changing the electron orbital. And this is what Hal Puthoff's talking about too. Hal Puthoff's saying, okay, if the electron is actually pulling energy out of the 0-point energy field, then that means if I squeeze the electron orbital, I can squeeze a little bit of energy out. I can pull some energy out. Just like the trampoline thought experiment. If I jump on the trampoline, I can jump into the sky, and then the trampoline resets while I'm up in the sky. And I can do it again. I can just keep going forever. That's the same idea as how the 0-point energy works. If I can squeeze that electron orbital, pull that energy out, now the electron goes somewhere else and expands. Now I've just gotten free energy. And where's that energy come from that I just got? Comes from the 0-point energy field. Comes from whatever is sourcing the electron charge. Okay. In summary, the public has been misled contemptuously. They have told you aliens are not visiting from Earth and do not exist. Rather than spacecraft, people are seeing the whole planet Venus flying around the sky. I don't know what that means. Then they start an effort to find signals from intelligent beings, which they have already detected. There have been signals picked up from even on the frequencies they do scan for, but all signals aliens normally use are going to be quantum. That's what he's talking about when he's saying below a certain threshold. He's talking about quantum. Finally comes the ultimate insult. The world can be better than science fiction has ever dreamt of. With devices to beam information directly into brains for virtual reality, access information from any source, which would make the internet pale in comparison. It almost sounds like he's explaining AI right there. This is 1995. This is 20 years before AI even existed. And it sounds like he's explaining AI right there. Yeah, contemptuously. Which would make the internet pale in comparison. Derive energy from the sun through its lines and literally construct anything as if by magic. The last one. Literally construct anything as if by magic. That's called a Star Trek replicator, chat. Who is this guy? This is crazy. This is crazy. Everyone on this planet who has died since 1967 did not have to. The only cure for AIDS, cancer, and particularly genetic diseases lies in these light lines. Yeah, we have to reverse time. If you reverse time, you reverse all these diseases. The reason why we can't cure these diseases is because you can't, it's just entropy. It's just entropy. Entropy builds up, disorder builds up. So how do you reverse disorder? You do negative entropy, you reverse time. Then you can beat any disease that's ever existed. This is what the public is being kept in the dark about. And I truly believe this. I don't think that anybody since 1967 has had to die. I believe that. I believe we have the technology to quite literally live forever. I think the Black Project engineers know that this physics leads to living forever. And the people that are in the know have signed some kind of pact, spoken or unspoken, that this will never be allowed out into the world because of the consequences. Can you imagine if nobody ever had to die? Look how many stupid people are on this planet. No, a lot of these people need to die. Chat, crash out. A lot of these stupid people on this planet, they need to die. We can't have these people living forever. They're too stupid. They'll destroy us all. They're going to destroy themselves. If we're lucky, they will destroy themselves by walking in front of a train or something dumb like that. If we're unlucky, these stupid people will just destroy us all. We are quite literally sheep. We're just cattle on this planet, basically. And that's the most disappointing part about this. This is why I have no problem burning my followers, burning them. No problem burning bridges, because we are just fucking cattle. We are cattle on this planet, and most of us should not be living forever. The vast majority of us do not deserve to live forever. Simple as that. We're really a terrible race of people, if we're just being perfectly honest. If we're being impartial. Okay, that's enough ranting. Perhaps the United States government has reasons for keeping this secret, but they are not, in my opinion, good ones. Ultimately, it is not the Air Force's problem. The public does not presently enjoy these things, if you know what I mean. To be heard, one has to make some noise. Wow. This does sound a lot like the letter to Ash and Forbes, guys. Okay, I think these last two are not nearly as long. Yeah, okay, these are a little bit shorter. So, okay. Let's see what we got here. In sum, we reach all the stars in this galaxy easier than governors want us to know. But they know as Einstein did, and the same excitation accelerates time and allows FTF travel, communications, and upward frequency shifts to boot. The frequency shifts, this is what Hal Puthoff is talking about with the blue shift. He's talking about Doppler effects, relativistic Doppler effects. Okay, let's see here. Since our only practical means to nullify gravity is electromagnetic, gravity must be electromagnetic. I think we already read through this. Permeability and permittivity are directly proportional to the distance of electrons from the nuclei. There you go. So it's pretty funny. Dynamic nuclear orientation was something that Mark Sokol talked to me about. And I told him, I think I mentioned something about this, about, this makes sense because Hal Puthoff is talking about the electron orbital being connected to gravity. I think that Mark Sokol is wrong. It's not the orientation of the nucleus, of the atoms. The orientation of the atoms is going to determine how magnetic something is. But what's really happening is the distance of the electrons from the atoms, from the orbital, from the ions in the center. That's what's really that's what's changing the permeability and permittivity. That's what gravity is. So now what have we determined here from this? Which I think we already knew, but this just reinforces it, is the distance from the electron to the ion. This is our gravity manipulation. When you're squeezing or expanding the electron orbital, this is your gravity manipulation. That's the secret. So he says, permeativity and permeability are directly proportional to the distance of the electrons from the nuclei, thus allowing external magnetic and electric fields to more easily distort excited orbitals and store energy in the atom. But according to Maxwell's wave equation, the speed of light is determined by 1 over the square root of the permeability times the permittivity in any spatial region. So excitation must affect the speed of light just as relativistic gravity speeds light. This is called the EM refraction method. And right there, chat. The universe is electric. Redshift is tired light. Maybe I'm going to end up being wrong about that, but that's where my feeling is that we're not seeing the universe expanding. We're seeing light get stretched out. Tired light. Although it's getting stretched out is probably still the same thing. The EM field is refracting light. Electromagnetism and gravity are linked. So right here, this is right here is the proof, in my opinion. It says, look, just take Maxwell's equation in any spatial region, and if you combine it with relativity, you're going to realize that excitation of the atom must affect the speed of light, just the same way that gravity does. A ship near light has slow time or great gravity and mass than one is static. So people see inside the universe die in the blink of an eye. How can they be quick enough to get as much information as we get? And does this not through Hartley's bandwidth information law suggest bandwidth and frequencies have been divided by tau time dilation? Wasn't it Sal saying something about tau and the relationship between time? Didn't Sal say something about this and saying that frequency and time cause a negative time excursion? This sounds very similar to what Salvatore Pais was saying too. So again, guys, I just want to point out, when you know what you're looking for, it's right there. This is the same stuff we've been hearing from Salvatore Pais, the same stuff we've been hearing from all the Black Project engineers connecting electromagnetism to gravity, just using general relativity and quantum mechanics. Combine them using electromagnetism equations, and boom. Now you start seeing things that don't seem classical. You see these quantum mechanical effects on the large scale. So once the atom is excited, then the electrons are further from the nuclei under less electric force, and incoming quantum of the same energy equals Planck constant times velocity. Quantum energy or frequency now cause greater transitions than before. So this is pretty repetitive, I think, but there we go. So here we go. Machines can be built to control reality directly. Well, that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary. Because what we're saying here is like, if this is true, then we can build machines that are quite literally manipulating space-time in ways that are probably extremely foreign to us right now. This is the big secret. The big secret is when you're doing this, when you're doing gravity manipulation, you're manipulating the flow of time. Now just imagine from all the movies, all the science fiction movies, all the dangerous things people can do with the flow of time. You can shatter the reality, make multiple branching realities. You can make closed loops as well, closed time-like loops. The human mind, from my experience, can produce these fields with certain rights or beliefs. See, this is where it goes off the rails for me. I'm not big on the, oh, well, my mind is going to do it because I've got telepathic powers. But maybe. The mind is absolutely connecting to this field. And we know that because we're living here together, conscious. The Earth operates in a magnetic vortex. Okay, I'm going to skip that part. That's fine. The ionosphere bends radio waves depending on their angle and frequency because they travel at different speed in this highly charged region. In fact, this is how we produce over-the-horizon radars. Over-the-horizon radars, we beam electromagnetic waves and we bounce them off the ionosphere. And that's how we get over the horizon. Literally over the horizon, that's what it means. That normally a straight shot, you wouldn't be able to see something with a radar. But we bounce them off the ionosphere and they can see for thousands of miles. There you go. This was alluded to in the permeability and permeativity. Why not create such an intense field around a ship? Parallel radar or light rays are bent around the ship like water droplets in a rainbow. So there you go. What are we doing? We're creating powerful electromagnetic fields so that light is bent entirely around the ship. And it is invisibility. Though anyone in such fields could escape faster than we perceive because their time is faster. So this is the thing. This is literally what I was trying to tell Jeremy Reese. If Jeremy Reese is out there, I don't know where he's at, what happened to the guy. He had a crash out about me and some weird shit. Jeremy Reese kept coming at me. Why can't this be cloaking? It is cloaking, man. The best cloaking is gravity manipulation. The best cloaking is bending all the light rays entirely around an object, which we know is possible because we see it in black holes. When we see black holes, we can see the light being bent entirely around them. So we know beyond any shadow of a doubt that it's possible. So the thing that people don't realize is that when you're bending this, you're actually changing the rate of time. So from that object's perspective, that object is just quite literally instantly appearing somewhere else. There we go. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Last one. Excitation vector fields. It is my understanding the speed of light in any region of space is related to the permeativity and permeability in that region by Maxwell's wave equation. There it is right there. The speed of light is actually not constant. The speed of light is actually dependent upon the permeability and permeativity, which we assume to be constant. We're just wrong. We're just wrong. They're not. If this is not so, several mathematical and electrodynamic laws are violated. If electrons are further from the nuclei, as they are when they're excited, then external magnetic and electric fields more easily disturb the orbitals. So permeativity and permeability are higher. And in this action explains why electromagnetic waves travel at different speed through ionized or excited regions. Is this incorrect? This is like literally just trying to handhold the normies through this. Like I actually wish that I had like Professor Brian Keating or Sabine Hassenfelder or Eric Weinstein. I wish I had them right here with me. Because I literally just want to handhold them through this and be like, hey guys, is this not true? This is true, right? Because they have to say yes, because this is true. But they can already see where we're going with this. They can already see that if they have to say yes to this up here, that we're clearly going to unify gravity and electromagnetism, right? Then Since one means of measuring curvature in space is how light propagates geodesically through spacetime, doesn't this immediately suggest excited atoms are behaving anti-gravitationally? If they are bending light in the direction opposite of gravity, shouldn't that mean that? One field accelerates light and one slows it. So gravity slows light, gravity speeds light and excitation slows light. So it's opposite, exactly what we'd expect from opposite gravity, almost like negative energy. One field bends space-time one way and the other bends it the other way. Suppose one answers no to the above. So assume that the debunker physicists say, no, that's not true. Then please answer this question. In gravity fields or near light speed, time slows. And this temporal slowing is totally indicative of a gravitational field. One may say people then perceive incoming waves having more cycles per second. But I believe it is more valid to say that the universe may die in a blink of these people's eyes. How can they be quick enough to see as much information as we do? Then Hartley's law says they perceive frequencies are downshifted and bandwidth compressed. So again, this all comes back to the Doppler effect. All comes back to time dilation. Time is only the experience of the number of waves that are hitting us. And if those waves get compressed or expanded, we're experiencing time at a different rate. So there it is. So I'm pretty much just repeating the same thing. It sounds like he made the same post kind of talking about the same stuff here as well. It says, doesn't this again suggest that excitation acts against gravity? If gravity shifts frequencies down due to temporal slowing, then how does excitation shift them up other than by temporal acceleration? The fields appear same, but opposite temporal effects. We may even show quantum energy is conserved in either case. So both are conservative vector fields. This is the other part of it. Free energy actually obeys the laws of conservation. It turns out that general relativity just gives us a loophole. General relativity gives us a loophole where we can seemingly get more energy out than we're putting in. And you would say, well, that's not possible. And I would say it is possible because of conservation and because of general relativity. Those two things make free energy possible. We basically found the cheat codes. We found the cheat codes of the universe, guys. And it all comes down to physics. Okay. And then it starts talking about flying saucers and once again, the Philadelphia experiment. So let's go back to the last paragraph here. It says, besides to electromagnetically nullify gravity, assuming such things are possible, there must be dual poles, positive and minus magnetic poles. Gravity must be an electromagnetic wave, very likely high frequency, high voltage electric pulse. Things we've all heard, high frequency, high voltage. It acts on a magnetic or electric property in mass to couple force. Otherwise, gravity is in no way electromagnetic and can never be overcome electrically, which I do not personally believe. But if above is true, then all we have to do is look for that one electric or magnetic property of mass, which is universally intrinsic, since gravity impacts all mass. So what he's saying here is that since gravity impacts all mass the same, there must be some property of mass itself that explains gravity. And what is the answer? If you watch this whole thing or listen to this whole thing tonight, you know what the answer is. The distance of the electron from the nuclei. How far is the electron from the center of the atom? This is what determines the force of gravity. This is what determines the permeability and permeativity. And just applying classical electromagnetism equations, this tells us that we should be able to manipulate gravity from controlling the manipulation, the orbital of the electrons. So then, to finish up, it says, that one property that we're missing is dimagnetism. However, even dimagnetism is directly related to the distance of the electrons from the nuclei by the formula of the magnetic moment. This does not tell us whether gravity acts on the electron's proximity or the distance, but it does tell us there must be correspondence. So it really, this reads like somebody was trying to get this information out. Somebody wanted this information out, and they kept repeating it because they wanted people to understand that this is the science, this is the physics. Here it is. It's right there. So Stefan Marinov. Let's take a quick look at his Wikipedia page, and then I'll do some super chats. Researcher, writer, lecturer, anti-relativistic theoretical viewpoints, perpetual motion, and free energy. Yeah, that sounds about right, chat. That fits the... Oh, wait, why is this not... Am I not sharing the right thing here? Here it is. Self-published experimental results confirmed classic electromagnetism and disproved a machine that he constructed. So that's definitely not the case. I mean, I just literally read posts by this guy. This in no way confirms classic electromagnetism. I mean, it kind of does. I mean, this is such a Wikipedia way to put it. It's like, oh, Stefan Marinov confirmed classical electromagnetism. Yeah, this is what we keep trying to tell you. We keep trying to tell you that we don't need a new version of electromagnetism. Just take electromagnetism, combine it with general relativity, and what do you get? When you assume that the electron itself is also living in a little time bubble, just like we are. I just said we're living in a time bubble. All of us are. The electron is also living in a little time bubble. When you do that, this is where you start to get these effects. Poor Wikipedia, man. Wikipedia is going to really struggle in the future, I feel like. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, here we go. He attempted to find experimental disproof of the theory of relativity by testing this. That's not right at all. He literally says, like, relativity is how this all works. Yeah, so I don't know about these sources here, but I have a feeling when I see 27 different sources on here, my guess is that the people were raging out about this, probably. The nerds and the debunkers are probably raging out about this, the editors of the Wikipedia. Okay, well, how did he die? He died in Austria in 1997. He was 66 years old, survived by his son. Doesn't say anything about this. Where is it? Here he is. In memorandum. My death. This is his last will and testament. Okay, here we go. Guys, this is going to be your moment of Zen tonight. Let's do the super chats, and then I'm going to read. We'll do Stefan Marinov's last will and testament will be our moment of Zen tonight, guys. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Oh, guys, I just realized I was not streaming on Pilled and Rumble. I totally forgot. Oh, my God. Sorry, guys. My bad. My bad, Pilled and Rumble. Totally forgot. I had it ready to go. It's on me. Fly Ether. Thank you very much, Fly Ether. United States building nuclear reactors in Saudi Arabia and barely anyone is talking about it. U.S. is exporting. Yeah, at this point, we need to figure out what are these nuclear reactors they're building. Don't just take the word nuclear at face value. That's how they get you. Ask them, like, now that we understand nuclear refers to the atom, which we've now connected to the electron orbitals. What are they doing with this nuclear power? Tell me exactly how the nuclear power works. Mick Leonard, thank you very much, Mick Leonard, for that donation. Looks like we've hit our super chat donations in order for Ashton to watch The Age of Disclosure tonight. So after this live stream, that's what I'm going to do. Pity me, chat. Pity me. Timothy Foster, thanks for teaching. Thank you for Timothy Foster for being here. Appreciate you, man. Dobby with a throbby. Thank you. What kind of threat do you think it would be to take this technology to be used out in the open? Probably I don't even know if they would use this to stop a nuclear weapon. I feel like they would let Russia or China hit us with a nuclear weapon because then it would give them the justification they need to wipe those countries out. So what would it take to use this? Probably they'd be having to shoot a nuke at the White House or wherever the CIA is located, in the Pentagon or something. If somebody's going to shoot a nuke at one of those places, then maybe we'll break this out. But at this point, I think that it's gotten out in the public consciousness enough that they're more likely to use it now because people are starting to realize that we have this technology. So they're going to be more likely to use this technology in the future. And that's why we think we're seeing all these innovations and like the new fusion thing and this new quantum thing. That's why we're seeing these things. It's because they're preparing us mentally for this technology to come out. Now, keep in mind, most people are still they're going to lose their minds, but some of us are high IQ futurists that are not going to lose our minds over this science and this technology and what have you. So there you go. I don't know, Dobby with a Throbby, to answer your question. We'll just have to wait and see. Mark Scott with that huge super chat. Now we definitely have to watch the Disclosure movie. Okay, guys, I'll be taking notes tonight, watching the Disclosure movie. Tomorrow, I don't know if it's going to be live. It might be pre-recorded, but I'm going to be talking with Nino Rodriguez. We're going to be talking about this Disclosure movie. And then lastly, Sam Fisher, thank you very much. Random question says, years ago, the founder of D-Wave Quantum Computers said, the computer extracts its output from another dimension. Does this make sense? Yes, it does make sense. Yes. Yes. Quantum computers are quite literally just sensing that ether. They're just sensing the vibrations in that ether. So therefore, how are we going to communicate? How do we do quantum communications? Because we're just sensing the vibrations and we're measuring those tiny little vibrations, and those vibrations have messages in them. Those have messages in them. That's why when I say we're building these AI quantum computers, I start to wonder, are they going to become conscious? Because they're just like, is that where all conscious thought is coming from? Is that we're tapped into that somehow? So good question there. Not sure how that's going to play out. We'll see. And then Wizard came in with this last super chat. Says, recursion field theory, GitHub Wizard AAX. I don't know what that means, chat, but there you go. There you have it. Okay. Moment of Zen time. Here you go. The last will and testament of Stefan Marinov. Before Stefan Marinov decided that there were kinder and gentler friends to be met, he left this last will and testament dated 15 July 1997. He said, my death is no person's fault. Where'd it go? There it is. Please notify the following of my death. My son, Maxim Marinov, my wife, Elena Kirkakova in Sofia. My son is a substitute minister of the Bulgarian industry and speaks English. My brother, Nicholas Marinov, is a resident of Sydney, but presently works on an extended journey through Europe. Okay. Okay, so he's literally just telling people in person of his death. The books and other items left in my bed are to be handled to the persons indicated. My body is to be transferred to the medical facility of the University of Austria. I thank the Austrian government. Well, that's interesting. Okay, I guess that's it. That's our moment of Zen, guys. Interesting. This is my last thought on this. And let me just say, Rex, thank you very much for that super chat as well. I think that what happens is a lot of these people realize that they're going to die well before the world understands this technology exists. I've personally had this revelation myself, where you realize, oh shit, we're not just stupid, we're just beyond ignorant. We're a primitive society that we are like 100 years away from proliferation of this technology, maybe even more than 100 years. I literally feel like Tesla looking at futuristic technology that is never going to be out before my grandchildren are dead. You know, that's what it feels like. And so when these people discover this stuff, it doesn't surprise me that they have these kind of overly cringe type messages, because they're sitting here trying to figure out, how do I reach these kids? How do I reach these kids? How do I reach these children? That's what they're trying to figure out. And nobody's been successful to date. If anybody had been successful to date, we would have 0 point energy technology, etc. And this is what sucks, because Stefan Marinov died in 1997. And he knew we had this technology. Clearly he knew. I don't know how he knew, but he knew. And that was 30 years ago. And we are no closer to that technology today than we were back then. I mean, yes, we are advancing technologically, but we're not being given any of the stuff that they were hiding from us. The most important thing that we can do on our path forward is to share the information. Take the advice that I gave you guys today on how to introduce people to Hal Puthoff. Explain to people that electromagnetism and gravity can be unified. General relativity and quantum mechanics can be unified under this idea of the electron orbital distance from the nuclei, just like Hal Puthoff talked about in his 1987 paper. Thank you, MH370X. I love you guys. We'll be back on Monday. We're going to talk about hypersonic craft on Monday, another one of my favorite topics. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Check out the interview tomorrow, guys. Peace out, MH370X. Love you guys. Later.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Bowling 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeeze so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign, energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stargates, our path